around our world. I'm Akushika Akwe.
And I'm Conrad Kakraba, and Clement Sam is doing the sign language translation.
In our first story, the Judicial Council has dismissed 3 magistrates in its continuing determination to instill discipline into the judiciary. All 3 magistrates will not receive any benefits. The 3 are Mr. Ketriato Usu, Mr. Isaac Amoa, and Mr. Stephen Asuri. Mr. Kofi Chere, a High Court registrar and a judicial officer, has also been dismissed without benefits by the Judicial Council for stated misbehavior. He is among the staff cited in the Tiger Eye petition. Disciplinary action has also been taken against the following junior staff who are not judicial officers and were cited in the petition.
They are Peace Abuaji, Circuit Court Registrar, Daniel Jata, District Court Registrar, Elias Nkansa, Assistant Registrar, and Eric Ayensu, Messenger. All 4 have also been dismissed. The decision to dismiss Peace Abuaji, Circuit Court Registrar, and Daniel Jata, District Court Registrar, has been confirmed by the Chief Justice in accordance with the Judicial Service Regulations. The disciplinary committee did not establish any act of misconduct against Benjamin Ejapon, a driver of the service who was also cited in the petition by Tiger Eye. His interdiction has therefore been lifted with immediate effect.
All is set for Tuesday's by-election in the Amenfi West constituency. The NDC, NPP, PPP and UFP are contesting the poll, which is largely expected to be a 2-horse race between the ruling NDC and the largest opposition party in the country, the NPP.
Reports from that part of the Western region say security has been increased ahead of the vote, which is scheduled to start at 7 a.m. The by-election follows the death of the Member of Parliament for the area, John Jitua, who was laid to rest this past weekend. The run-up to the vote has been characterized by intense campaigning.
Also in this package, President John Mahama is in Guinea-Conakry attending the inauguration of President Alpha Condé for his 2nd term. Mr. Mahama has been joined on the Guinea trip by the national chairman of the Convention People's Party, Dr. Edmond Dele, and the chairperson of the Council of State, Mrs. Cecilia Johnson.
While in Conakry, President Mahama will visit the widow of the late Guinean leader, Ahmed Sékou Touré. He will also visit the residence of the late Dr. Kwame Nkrumah while he was in exile in Guinea. Ghana and Guinea have long-standing relations dating back to the days of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah and Sékou Touré.
The UN Climate Change Summit in Paris has arrived at a deal which could fundamentally alter the future of the planet. Africa is expected to be one of the continents hardest hit by climate change, with an increase in severe droughts, floods and storms expected to threaten the health of populations and economies alike.
Part of that vulnerability is simply down to geography. Already, the hottest continent, Africa, is expected to warm up to 1.5 times faster than the global average, according to the UN's Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. They recognize the Global Authority on Climate Science. However, it's not just about where people live, but also whether they are prepared for what's coming. Abdul Hai Mumen is standing by to give us details of the climate change issues.
Exactly so, Conrad and Akushika. And for those of us who may still be thinking that the issue of climate change is a conspiracy theory, maybe this is the time for us to wake up to the reality. You know, that with 1 in 4 people in sub-Saharan Africa still living in extreme poverty, hundreds of millions of people do not have the same safety nets afforded those in wealthier industrialized nations. And for a continent which has barely contributed to climate change, many argue that Africa will bear a disproportionate burden. Even today, during a period of unprecedented industrialization on the continent, Africa accounts for less than 4% of the world's annual greenhouse gas emissions, which experts say are responsible for global warming. Agriculture, food insecurity, water resources, among many, will all come under intense pressure from climate change in Africa. And experts also say that by 2020, yields for maize in Zimbabwe and South Africa could decrease by more than 30%. This scenario is especially worrying when you consider that According to the World Bank, agriculture employs 2 in 3 people in sub-Saharan Africa and accounts for 1/3 of GDP. The challenge to Africa may also force farmers to be more savvy. If climate change means it no longer makes sense to grow maize in certain regions, another staple, cassava, a root vegetable which has a hardiness to higher temperatures and is already widely consumed on the continent, could provide a viable alternative. Food insecurity, one of the key threats from climate change, will necessarily have a knock-on impact on people's health. By 2050, the population of sub-Saharan Africa is expected to more than double to 1.9 billion. That means even more mouths to feed at a time when the agricultural sector could be, struggling. And one of the biggest threats facing the continent is water scarcity. Now, one of the biggest threats facing the continent again is driven by so many other factors such as population growth, rapid urbanization, and changes to the way land is being used. Added to this, many African countries are already under high levels of water stress, and 95% of farmland in sub-Saharan Africa is estimated to be rain-fed. Unreliable rainfall in the future will also play a big part in any crisis over water resources. The continent will need $20 to $30 billion every year for the next 2 decades, according to the African Development Bank, to deal with issues of climate change. In the words of African Development Bank President Akinwumi Adesina at the summit in Paris, quote, "Africa has been shortchanged by climate change, and Africa must not be shortchanged by climate finance," unquote. So that is it. Those who think climate change is far away from Africa, it's right here with us, and we must all come together to deal with the menace. Back to you, Akushika and Conrad.
Well, I guess Africa is already hot, so
Of
getting
course.
any hotter.
Even
is
our
going to be-
Hamatan alone says a lot.
Exactly.
And South Africa is also reeling under intense climate change consequences.
Yeah. Well, we're moving on, and the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection has launched the National Gender Policy in Accra. The 6-chapter document is to give attention to the gender agenda in governance and development structures.
At the launch of the document, the sector minister, Nano Yelitha, reiterated the administration's commitment to gender equality, empowerment of women, and caring for the vulnerable in society.
Ghana has come a long way in its push for gender equality in all sectors of the country, for a national policy framework that deals comprehensively with gender equality, equity and the empowerment of women and girls for development. Cabinet therefore approved the National Gender Policy in August this
We do apologize for that. And for the next 5 days, representatives from ECOWAS countries will go through an effective election management training program in Accra. LESIAD is partnering with ECOWAS to, among other things, improve awareness of the role of elections as a conflict resolution mechanism. Co-chair of the Coalition of Domestic Election Observers, CODEO, Professor Miranda Greenstreet, has tasked electoral managers to be professional at all times during elections.
At the end of the 5-day training program, the participants from across the ECOWAS sub-region are expected to be better equipped in practical aspects of election management. This focus was based upon the realization that often training programs for personnel of election management bodies dwell more on election observation and monitoring. The Legon Center for International Affairs and Diplomacy, LESIAD, and ECOWAS teamed up to provide a platform for electoral managers to refresh their knowledge and acquire the needed skills to effectively manage elections. The director of LESIAD, Professor Henrietta Mensabonsu, said her outfit will ensure that the participants are given the needed training for their duty as election managers. A representative from ECOWAS, Mr. Eyasan Okurodudu, was happy to be part of the program and said it was timely and very necessary for election managers to have what it takes to do the job professionally.
The story of the personal life of Ghana's only president of the Third Republic, Dr. Hila Liman, is told in a documentary titled Hila, the Epic Story. Dr. Liman was president from 1979 to 1981. The documentary was premiered in Accra.
The documentary, dubbed Hila, the Epic Story, was produced by Junaid Liman, son of the late Dr. Hila Liman. The story of the life of the only president of the Third Republic of Ghana is told from a personal and family perspective. Members of the Liman family and other dignitaries recounted their encounters with the late Dr. Hila Liman. The managing editor of the Insight newspaper, Kwesi Pratt, spoke about the humble and honest nature of Dr. Liman.
What I can say is that no matter what anybody would say about Dr. Hila Liman, nobody can say that he was dishonest. He was a very honest man. And Dr. Hila Liman should not become a family item, should not become a family property. In much the same way that Nkrumah today is regarded as African rather than even as Ghanaian and so on. An occasion like this ought to have been planned, ought to have been organized as a national event.
The documentary seeks to give the Ghanaian society and the world at large insight into the personal life of the late Dr. Hila Liman.
Renowned cardiothoracic surgeon Professor Kwabena Frimpong Boateng says the National Service Scheme and the Ghana Youth Employment and Entrepreneurial Development Authority, JEDA, must be scrapped and the resources channeled into technical and vocational education training to speed up Ghana's industrialization process. He says the 0.5% allocation from the education budget for technical and vocational training is woefully inadequate. Professor Frimpong Boateng made the statement at a meeting of the Commonwealth Africa Polytechnics Association in Kumasi.
The 5-day conference was under the theme Enhancing Partnerships Between Training Institutions and Industry for Accelerated Development in Africa. A renowned cardiothoracic surgeon, Professor Frimpong Boateng, said most African countries are less developed compared to their counterparts in Asia because governments do not commit resources to technical and vocational education. He said it is time most senior high schools are converted into technical and vocational training schools to provide skills training for junior high school leavers.
If the education we have pursued since independence has not prepared us to solve the many technical and vocational problems facing us, then we can safely say that that education has not been very useful. I think that technical education, vocational education should go hand in hand with education reforms. And what we have in Ghana should be reformed again. It's when we do things right that we begin to see the value of vocational education. When you get the industry involved, the institutions involved, industries become happy because they train people fit for their needs. They acquire specialists not available on the market, and they have low labor turnout because they know the people.
The Achimpemhene Oheneba Eduse Poku suggested a thorough review of the curricula at the tertiary institutions. The Executive Secretary of National Council for Vocational and Technical Education, Professor Mohamed Salifu, says government is committed to increasing funding for vocational and technical education to meet their demand.
With the conversion of polytechnics into technical universities, however, this glass ceiling of catering only for middle-level manpower will be broken to allow for students within the TVET sector to have a clear and continuous line of progression, right from the lowest, most basic levels of competence and qualification all the way to the highest possible as defined in the National Qualifications Framework.
Some personalities and institutions were honored for their contributions to national development. They include Apostle Dr. Kwadwo Safo, Tony Clemenu, Chief Executive of United Bank of Africa, Talo Oil Ghana, and the Suamin Magazine Industrial Development Organization.
For Gender, Children and Social Protection has launched the National Gender Policy in Accra. The six-chapter document is to give attention to the gender agenda in governance and development structures.
Ghana has come a long way in its push for gender equality in all sectors of the country, for a national policy framework that deals comprehensively with gender equality, equity and the empowerment of women and girls for development. Cabinet therefore approved the National Gender Policy in August this year to push the gender agenda.
Gender mainstreaming is meant to bring women's perspectives to the center. We want to be in the center of development. We want to work to ensure that all policies, programs, plans, and activities take into cognizance the priorities and needs of both women and men.
Launching the policy, the Chief Justice Georgina Theodora Wood pledged the support of the Judicial Service to ensure that it is gender sensitive in all its policies and programs.
The Judicial Service are committed to ensuring gender sensitivity in all our operations, policies, and programs in order to promote gender equity in the appointment of judges and staff.
A legal luminary and gender activist, Professor Quinye here noted that competing government priorities and political will are some of the major challenges in implementing a gender policy. She therefore called for a proper legal and administrative network to see to the implementation of the policy.
More news.
Good evening, it's time to talk some business. My name is Esther Edu. Over 120,000 companies in the country have been found to be evading taxes. These are companies which have been enjoying everything the state provided, including roads, but have not fulfilled their side of the bargain. These companies were caught in the net of the Economic and Organized Crime Organization, EOCO. In October 2013, $367 million was lost to the state as a result of tax evasion by companies. These monies are revenues due to the state for infrastructural projects such as roads, schools, among others. One institution that has been vital in pinpointing the culprits to the Ghana Revenue Authority has been the Economic and Organized Crime Organization, EOCO. To strengthen their efforts in the fight against tax evasion, GRA, led by the Commissioner General, Mr. George Blankson, has donated administrative equipment such as printers, laptops, photocopiers to EOCO in Accra.
Dealing with taxpayers that have defaulted, we have found our partnership with EOCO extremely useful. They have given us the support by which we have contacted the taxpayers that have not complied fully, and when we have the support of EOCO, given the laws on which they operate, they have been very, very helpful, and through that we have been able to improve compliance substantially. They have also been useful in identifying taxpayers that we register.
The Acting Executive Director of EOCO, Mr. Justice Starr, commended the GRA for their efforts and pledged EOCO's commitment to partner GRA in fighting tax evasion. The clock for the new utility tariffs has started ticking despite the moves by the Consumer Protection Agency to use the court to stop the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission, PURC, from implementing its decision. The Consumer Protection Agency is seeking to suspend the implementation of a 59.2% increment in electricity tariff and 69.2% in water tariff.
Public discourse on tariff hikes has been rife since the PURC announced new tariffs last week. The Consumer Protection Agency moved to court to seek a suspension of the increment. Organized labor, on the other hand, demanded that the PURC urgently reduce the tariffs further. At a meeting to discuss the concerns of the TUC, the Executive Secretary of the PURC stated that the new tariffs kicked in today.
What I'm saying that the tariff has already been gazetted and is effective.
It's effective? So
yes, it's already effective.
No turning back?
No, when you gazette, it becomes a law and it's effective.
So it's not.
After a meeting which was held behind closed doors, the Secretary General of the TUC, Mr. Kofi Asamoah, was hopeful that although their talks are coming after the increment, their concerns will be addressed.
The PRC engaged us in some discussions on, as usual, the problems with the utility companies, the challenges that they have. And so what I can say to you now is that the meeting ended inconclusively. There was no real conclusion. Our demands have been led with them. We've restated clearly that our demands still stand.
The second edition of the Ghana Oil and Gas Awards has taken place in Accra. It is to recognize and reward achievements from both local and international companies involved in the oil and gas sector in the country.
The Ghana Oil and Gas Awards serve as a platform for the oil and gas industry to demonstrate and celebrate advances made in key areas of environmental stewardship, leadership, corporate social responsibility, as well as health and safety. The awards were in 30 categories, including the Promising Oil and Gas Service Company of the Year, Emerging Brand of the Year, and the Entrepreneur of the Year. SeaWorld Engineering Company Limited was adjudged Engineering Construction Company of the Year, while the Oil Marketing Company of the Year award was given to Vivo Energy Company Limited. The Best Haulage Company of the Year award was received by JK Hoggle Transport and Company Limited. In the Special Recognition Award category, the Chief Executive of Hills Oil Company, Ivy Manley Spain, received the Woman of Excellence Award. The event director of Zordis Communications, one of the organizers of the awards, Mr. Richard Abbey, in an interview with GBC24, spoke about the objective of the awards.
Most of these oil and gas people are always on the field or some boardroom, some meetings. They don't have the time to even come around. I mean, I think have let's say such an award or an event that gathers all of them together. So we are celebrating the achievements and the defining roles that they have played.
Some of the award winners spoke to GBC24.
This award is really important because it recognizes the efforts that we are making.
Vivo Energy, the company that markets the Shell brand, is so happy for this award. This goes to reinforce our leadership in the industry.
From 2000 up to today, we won so many awards on good on transport.
It's a clear evidence of recognition. You know, no hard work goes unnoticed. When you work very hard, eventually somebody will see it and acknowledge it.
The event brought together over 200 professionals and partners from the oil and gas industry, including government, civil society, and financial institutions.
Now, 5 business reporters have been honored for their work that explored various issues of impact in economics and business. The Flamingo Awards is organized by the Institute of Financial and Economic Journalists.
The Flamingo Awards recognizes and appreciates hardworking business and financial journalists and seeks to improve the level of journalism in the country. At the second edition of the awards, under the theme Protecting the Public Purse, 5 financial journalists received awards for their outstanding contributions. Francis Tandor of Zain One News Agency, Adnan Adams of Economic Times, and Kwesi Enime J of Viasat One got special awards. Felix Delacluche of the Business Day took the Best Finance Feature Award. Kwesi Enime J of Viasat One again took Best Feature Agribusiness Award. Kofi Edu Domfe of Love FM took the Best Extractive Feature and Best Developmental Feature Awards and was adjudged the overall Best Business and Financial Journalist of 2015. Some of the award winners spoke to GBC24.
I'm very much, appreciative of this award because IFED platform for me is a very serious platform.
The secret has been hard work and training, and I also give glory to God for that.
I feel very good. I never expected this, so it was more of a surprise to me. But I say thanks to God, organizers the jury, for giving me this opportunity to emerge the overall winner.
The president of the Institute of Financial and Economic Journalists, Mr. Lloyd Evans, said protecting the national purse is one of the greatest governance challenges nations face. A Deputy Minister of Finance, Mrs. Mona Kote, said government is working hard to bring sanity in financial management and asked financial journalists to be circumspect in their reportage.
Even as we've increased revenue, we've made sure that we've decreased expenditure without compromising the quality of the service that the public service must give. This year, 2015, as at end of September, we had been able to bring our cash deficit down to 3.1. We will end the year at 7.8 budget deficit.
The Deputy German Ambassador Bernhard Abels said Ghana, as a developing country, must be prudent in managing its coffers to boost development. Looking forward, the Institute of Financial and Economic Journalists hopes to train more financial journalists across the country.
Let's go to South Africa, where the president, Jacob Zuma, has appointed Pravin Gordhan as his third finance minister within a week. He replaces the little-known David Van Rooyen, who had only been on the job since Thursday.
This week, President Jacob Zuma sacked previous finance minister Henry Nene in a widely criticized move that sent the rand to record lows and caused the stock market to tumble. The development came amid concern over South Africa's struggling economy. Mr. Gordhan was widely respected when he served as South Africa's finance minister from 2009 until 2014. Reports say the reappointment of Gordhan is designed to quell market discontent and restore some confidence. It appeared to have had an immediate effect, with the currency rising, recovering from just over 16 rand to the dollar to about 15 by Monday morning. The Johannesburg Stock Exchange also recovered some of last week's losses. Trained and worked as a pharmacist in Durban, Pravin Gordhan is one of the main negotiators in the draft on South Africa's democratic constitution from 1991 to 1994. He ran South Africa's revenue service from 1999 to 2009 and also served as finance minister from 2009 to 2014. Pravin Gordhan has hard job with unemployment currently above 25%, growth sluggish, and credit rating agency Fitch recently downgrading South Africa to one notch above junk status.
And that was business brought to you by EcoBank, Hisense and Airtel. Have a good evening.
The health news is brought to you by FPAC. FPAC blows your pain away. Child marriages and teenage pregnancies have become a critical social canker affecting majority of young girls in the country, particularly in the northern, upper east and upper west regions, making them school dropouts. Statistics from the Domestic Violence and Victims Support Unit in the Upper East region show that out of every 100 girls, 40 of them come from the 3 regions of the north. And at a stakeholders meeting organized by Our Lady of Mercy Community Services, OLAM, in Navrongo, participants pledged their commitment to stop this incident.
Over the years, teenage girls at the primary and junior high levels have fallen victim to these 2 social cankers, teenage pregnancy and forced marriages. Sometimes, victims of teenage pregnancies are forced into early marriages. The director of OLAM, Emmanuel Atega, said the critical issue regarding child marriage and teenage pregnancy is the health implication of both the child and the mother who is also a child.
Government, and for that matter, the ministry alone, cannot bring this menace to the barest minimum without the support of civil society, parents, teachers, the children themselves, and the students.
The municipal gender officer, Mrs. Victoria Asuluono, said her office is working hand in hand with Olam to promote gender equality in the municipality. The regional director of the National Commission for Civic Education, Pontius Pilate Apabe, noted that child marriages and teenage pregnancies are gaining grounds because parents and institutions mandated to take care of the needs of young girls are not doing their work.
The Nursing and Midwifery Training College at Pembe in the East Gonja district of the Northern region has been upgraded to enable it to absorb and train more students. The college, which started with one block, now has a lot of infrastructure to ease accommodation, and this will help in its efforts to bridge the gap in the patient-nurse ratio in the region.
The Pembe Nursing Midwifery Training College was established in 2008, but it was not until February 2009 that actual academic activities started. It trained health assistants, now referred to as nurse assistants. It received full institutional and program accreditation in 2014 from both the Nursing and Midwifery Board to run 3 additional programs. These are Registered General Nursing, Registered Midwifery and Post-Basic Midwifery. The college has had a lot of infrastructural development, including male and female dormitories, a dining hall, master bungalow, as well as a laboratory. With this, the college is now able to absorb more students to add on to the number of health professionals in the region to ensure quality healthcare delivery. This will also bridge the nurse-patient gap in the region. The principal of the Pembe Nursing and Midwifery Training College, Hajia Sheila Issa, said the performance of the college has been good and that 98% and about 86% of nurse assistant and post-basic midwifery students passed their examinations successfully this year. Mohammed Amin Lukman pledged the government's continued support to the health sector.
The health segment was brought to you by FPAC. FPAC blows your pain away.
In other news, the trial has begun in Burundi for 28 people accused over May's attempt to oust President Pierre Nkurunziza. The defendants include Burundi's former defense minister, Cyril Ndayikuriye, and 27 other senior military and police officials. The trial comes amid rising concern over the security situation in the country. Protests in Burundi began in April when the president announced he would seek a 3rd term in office. The 28 standing trial at the Supreme Court in the central town of Gitega have also been accused of inciting killings and destroying property during the anti-3rd term protests. Nigeria's ex-national security advisor has appeared in court charged with fraud over the alleged diversion of $2 billion of government money meant to buy arms to fight Boko Haram. A government investigation found that Sambo Dasuki awarded ghost contracts to buy 12 helicopters and 4 fighter jets, which never materialized. Mr. Dasuki denied the allegations and says the case is politically motivated. President Muhammadu Buhari ordered his arrest 2 weeks ago. He is the most senior official to be charged as a result of an investigation into arms procurement during the previous administration of Goodluck Jonathan. Next, we'll take you into the sporting arena.
Hello, good evening. Time for some updates from the world of sports. I'm Theophilus Sampa. This is in partnership with Tobinco Pharmaceuticals Limited, producers of Lunat. Straight to Nigeria, where the top 3 contenders for the 2015 African Player of the Year have been revealed. They are Black Stars Deputy Captain Andre Ayew, or technical directors of the national associations affiliated to CAF, will be announced at the GLOCAF Awards Gala on 7th January 2016. Back here in Accra, Dansoma-based pool player Alexander Opon has been crowned the 2015 national pool champion. He beat off stiff competition from Emmanuel Esiedu. He took away a pool table, a trophy, and goodies from sponsors.
More than 60 of the country's best pool players converged on the tennis court of the Accra Sports Stadium for the finals of the National Pool Tournament. The tournament, the fourth in a series, started on October 9th. The 62 finalists qualified after winning the regional event, which was staged in 100 centers across the country. For the first time, two ladies made it to the finals. They were Ruth Annan, based in Accra, and Blessing Evelyn Winigbo from Osu. Ruth emerged the winner of that encounter. The final shutdown was between Emmanuel Esiedu and Alex Opon, playing under the best of 5 rule. Alex won the first 2 seats, but Emmanuel rallied back to pick up the 3rd seat. Emmanuel, aiming to get a good comeback, lost his focus as Alex bounced back to carry the day 3 sets to 1. He took home a trophy, a certificate, and a pool table plus goodies from the sponsors. The second place had a 32-inch plasma and cue sticks, with the third position picking a refrigerator and products from sponsors. Organizers and the finalists shared their experiences.
The euphoria was too much, but I think that henceforth we need to put in place measures that will not make the fans almost take over the game.
We had a lot of females or ladies participating in this year, which tells you that our aim of ensuring that pool as a game is not feminized is being achieved.
I'm ready for any tournament or any competition which I'll be pleased.
Organizers promise to make next year's event bigger and better.
Still in Accra, defending champions of the Ghana Rugby Club Championship, Cosmos Buffaloes, continued the unbeaten run after recording a 34 points to 15 victory over Ida Sport. The encounter was one of the week 3 fixtures in the ongoing Ghana Rugby Club Championship. The National Rugby Club Championship League entered its 3rd week at the Accra Sports Stadium. 6 teams were in action. Kicking off the day was the clash between Conquerors and Accra Sharks. Conquerors, parading most of the national team players, were hoping to build on the 100% start to the competition, while Sharks were hoping to record their first win. After the first half, Conquerors were up by 53 points. In the second half, Bosoka Kalestos made 3 tries, with Kalichi Onwanta and William Aite making a try each. Mohamed Rabiu successfully made 5 conversions to give Conquerors an 80-point lead. Sharks' consolation came from 2 penalty conversions. The encounter ended 80 points to 6. Next was the clash between Griffons RFC and Dansoman Hurricanes. Griffons, who travelled all the way from Cape Coast, could not stand the firepower of the Dansoman lads. They lost by 14 points to 3. The last game on the day was the pairing between Cosmos Buffaloes and Ida Sport. The defending champions, Cosmos in the black jerseys, took a 10 points to 8 lead in the first half through Akamba Baba Solomon, David Norty, and Benjamin Kofi. Idas battled and made 2 conversions. Substitute Majid also made a try, but it was not enough as the defending champions put the game beyond their reach. They ended the game 34 points to 15. On the league table, Conquerors and Cosmos Buffaloes occupied the summit with 15 points each, followed by Dansoman Hurricanes with 13 points and Ida Sports with 6 points. That's all for sports.
Hello and welcome to the entertainment and art segment of the news. My name is Michelin Taka. Reggie and Boli, the Ghanaian duo in the just ended UK's X Factor competition, placed 2nd in the finals, which took place at the Wembley Stadium. They rubbed shoulders with Louisa Johnson and Chesterman, who was later evicted. The show ended with Louisa coming tops. The people of Nandom in the Upper West region have climaxed their 26th Kabube. The festival was organized under the theme Attitudinal Change Prerequisite for Development.
The president's message to the people was on attitudinal change for the needed national development. He said negative attitudes such as non-compliance of building regulations, disrespect for authority, and non-adherence to traffic regulations have resulted in the loss of lives and property in different parts of the country. There was a good cultural display to the admiration of all. the paramount chief of the area, now Dr. Charles Pori, who is also the president of the Regional House of Chiefs, repeated his call on the government to consider constructing the Kamba irrigation dam to promote all year-round farming in the area. He asked them to improve on the deplorable nature of the roads in the region, particularly the Babile-Lora-Nandom-Hamile roads, which forms part of the Trans-ECOWAS Trunk Road.
I wish to remind all people in my traditional area that the law on bush burning is still in force.
The regional minister spoke against negative practices such as open defecation and excessive felling of trees for charcoal that degrades the environment.
We are all witnesses to the increasing change in weather and the unpredictable rainfall pattern in the region, which are some of the effects of these negative practices. I'm therefore calling on our chiefs to link up with the district assemblies to come out with bylaws on bush fires, the cutting of economic trees, and the commercial production of charcoal.
Those who have contributed to the health and educational sector of the district received awards.
Christians are in the season where it is customary to hold the Festival of Nine Lessons and Carols. The service, which celebrates the birth of Jesus, is traditionally followed at Christmas. GBC24 puts you in the Christmas mood with excerpts of the service by students of Achimota School in Accra.
Christmas is coming, the kids are getting fast. Jesus puts a penny in the old man's hat. If you haven't got a penny, a happy will do. If you haven't got a happy, a party will do. If you haven't got a party, God bless you.
Technical support from the Ghana Meteorological Agency.
A very warm welcome to the Winco Weather Report Center on GTV. I am Eunice Kweku Tony. 24 hours ago, Ghana experienced misty and hazy conditions which impaired visibility. From now till tomorrow morning, we're going to be experiencing over the northern and the transition portions of the country hazy conditions associated with low humidity and no significant clouds. This feature is going to be affecting areas over Wa, Boku, Bimbila, Kintampo, Sunyani, Wenchi, Techiman, and all the surrounding areas. Over the forest and the coastal line, the case is no different, as we are still going to be experiencing cases of misty, foggy and hazy conditions with a chance of impaired visibility. Now for temperatures, we are forecasting a range between 18 and 25 degrees Celsius to affect most parts of Ghana. In the afternoon, we are going to be experiencing a rise in temperature as everywhere will get warm, still with dust particles raised in the atmosphere. This time around, temperature will range between 32 and 35 degrees Celsius across the entire country. Right after now is a 48-hour forecast. Do stay tuned to GTV. Thank you very much for joining me, and now back to the newsroom for the concluding part of the news.
And we thank you for keeping company with us.
Have a good evening.